Well, hey friend, welcome to the relaunch of Tune My Heart. Tune My Heart is back, and I am so excited to reconnect with you and to have some brand new Bible study series and encouragement for Christian women. Now, if you followed my channel in the past, you realize that I have been gone for over 3 years. So where have I been for the last 3.5 years? Well, during this time, my family walked through a very difficult season. My mom became very ill, and she stayed in the hospital for an extended amount of time and followed up by rehab. I became her caregiver, and most of my time was spent taking care of her for 18 months. There was doctor's appointments, hospital visits, there were difficult decisions to make, there were long days, and there was a lot of prayer. At the same time, though, life didn't stop. As many of you know who have been caregivers, other responsibilities continue. I had one son who graduated from high school, and then he graduated from trade school. I had another son who graduated from Bible college, and then there was a wedding, and then we had our first grandson that was born during this time. And so there was happy times as well, and really busy times, a lot of changes. Also, our church was growing and thriving. This was after COVID, and a lot of things became busy again, a lot of activities, a lot of meetings and services. And so there were church responsibilities and ministry. There was also family responsibilities, and then of taking care of my mom. And so the most important thing that I learned during this very busy season of life that was full of changes was this: although life may change, God remains faithful through it all. Through every joy, through every tear, through every difficult time, through every joyous time, God was there with me through all of it, and He remained faithful. He was right by my side. I want to read to you a passage of scripture. It's from Lamentations chapter 3, verses 21 to 23. And this may be a familiar passage to you, but I'm gonna read it to you and you can follow along. This I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because His compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. This is a very well-known passage of scripture. And I don't know if you know the history behind it, but during this time, it was some of the darkest times in Israel's history. The prophet Jeremiah, he was actually weeping among all of the ruins. There had been a war, and Jerusalem had been destroyed. The temple had been destroyed. There was so much death. The future was very uncertain. There didn't seem to be any hope at all. But this is what Jeremiah did. He recalled to mind and he remembered that the Lord had been faithful in the past, and He was continued to be faithful even now during this difficult time. He remembered the Lord's mercies, and he remembered His compassions. And so this passage of scripture tells us that even though our circumstances may be hard and it doesn't seem like there's any hope, that God is going to still be faithful, and He doesn't change. Even though it seems like everything around us is changing, God's character is not changing. He will be faithful to you during these difficult times. One of the first things that I learned was during that difficult season of so many changes and uncertain things in the future was that God sustains us. He is faithful to sustain us. There were days when honestly, I did not know how I was going to make it through the day. I was so exhausted mentally, I was exhausted emotionally, and I was exhausted physically. There were so many doctor's appointments, there were decisions to be made, there were things to take care of at my home, things to take care of in the ministry. And so there were some days that I woke up and I didn't want to face the day. I didn't know how I was going to make it through the day. But you know that the Lord's mercies are new every morning. He gave me the mercy that I needed every single morning. It wasn't mercy that I needed for the next week. It wasn't what I needed for the next year. It was what I needed for that day. I did not know what the future would hold, and at that moment, that wasn't what I needed. I just needed to be able to make it through that day. So looking back on this, I can see countless moments when He supplied exactly what I needed. It might have been a day that I was very tired, and He gave me the strength. It might have been a day that I was very discouraged, and He would send someone by my way to encourage me. And there were so many instances of this. I couldn't even begin to tell you. And then also when I didn't know what to do, there was sometimes health decisions to make, and I didn't know what to do. I was a music teacher. I was not in healthcare. Although my mom had been a nurse and she was very knowledgeable, and she knew a lot about all these things, she still would depend on me to help her make decisions. And that was sometimes a lot of weight on me to do that. But God would give me exactly what I needed. He would give me the wisdom I needed. He would put people in my path to help me understand the decision that needed to be made. His faithfulness didn't change. He was right there with me during that difficult time. He sustained me. The next thing that I learned during this difficult season was that God's faithfulness remains through grief and through regret. One thing I learned is that faithfulness doesn't mean that everything's going to turn out exactly like I want it to. For a while, my mom improved. She had about 6 months that she felt better. She was able to live at a retirement home independently. And there was a lot of changes in her life. We ended up selling her home, and she had to move near me. And I know that was hard for her. It was difficult. But God gave her several months there where she did feel better and she was able to enjoy some things. But then her health declined and she passed away. The Lord took her home to heaven. And God helped me through that time of grief. And if you've ever cared for a loved one, you probably understand something else. Along with caring for them also comes some regrets. As I look back, sometimes I wish I had done some things differently. I should have had a better attitude at times. I wish I could tell you that I am perfect and I made always the most perfect choices, but I did not. Sometimes I would be aggravated because I was having to put something off that I wanted to do, or I was having to change my plans. I would I would get upset, and there's things that I look back on and I regret. I wish I'd had a better attitude. I wish I had been more flexible at times. There were times I did make, good choices that I don't regret. But there are always those things that we think back on and think, wow, I wish I could have done that differently. But this is what I've learned, that you just take those things, those regrets, and you learn from the past. One of the beautiful truths about God's faithfulness is that He is faithful even when we are not perfect. God was faithful on the days that I handled things well. He was faithful on the days that I was exhausted. He was faithful on the days I was strong. And He was faithful on the days that I struggled. So if you're carrying regrets today, I want to encourage you, don't allow these regrets to blind you to God's goodness and His faithfulness. Don't live in that past. Move forward in the future and just learn from the past. The last thing I want to share with you is that God's faithfulness gives us hope for a new season. The same God who was faithful yesterday will be faithful tomorrow. As I look back over those last 3.5 years, I had both heartache and I had blessing. I saw a mother that I love dearly go on to be with the Lord. I have such sweet, good memories of her, and I was so blessed to have a wonderful mom. I saw, my sons graduating and accomplishing some great milestones in their life. There was a beautiful wedding. I have a wonderful daughter-in-law, and now I have a grandson, which brings so much joy to my life. I have a church that was growing and thriving, and I saw many answered prayers. I saw many unexpected blessings. There were things that just God blessed us with. And I saw God's hand through every chapter of all those changes. And now, as I relaunch this YouTube channel, I do it with a deeper appreciation of God's faithfulness and His love for me. And I just want to be even, most of all, an encouragement to other women who are out there who maybe are going through some of the same things that I have. Some of you are caregivers right now, or some of you are facing something that you're really discouraged with, or a really dark time in your life. And I want to encourage you. Write down some of the ways that God's been faithful to you in the past. I know that there's been prayers He's answered. I know there's victories that you have seen. I know that there are so many blessings that He's given to you. When you write those down, it helps you take the focus off of the hard things, off of the hard struggles. And it helps you to remember, just like Jeremiah said, it helps you recall to your mind that the Lord gives us mercy, He gives us compassion, and that He is faithful and He's not going to fail us. He hasn't failed us and He's not going to. Thank you for joining me for this very first lesson from our series on God's faithfulness. In the coming weeks, we'll continue looking at God's faithfulness, and I hope that it will be an encouragement to you. If this lesson was a blessing to you and you know someone else who might need to hear this and hear these words of encouragement from the book of Lamentations, I hope that you share this with them. Also, leave a comment below and tell me how God's been faithful in your life. I look forward to reading those. So until next time, my prayer is that you will keep your heart in tune.